All right, we're just working out the record button. Is that happening?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today. We're just kicking off the AMA, monthly AMA. I think today we've got Aaron and Derek, as well as a few of the other crew on the AMA. Maybe I'll kick it off with a quick update, some of the highlights that have been happening, and then I'd love Derek, who's looking after a lot of our legal work, to give some of the updates that he's been involved in as well. So we are actually preparing now for the GitX, the Start AD accelerator in Dubai, which is really exciting. There's a program that's going on for the next 3 weeks where Aaron and myself are joining the host, which is an accelerator program that's backed by the Dubai government, Ripple Labs, New York University, preparing for a 4-day event in Dubai in October, where we'll be meeting a whole bunch of new investors and potential partners, platforms, collaborators. So yeah, my first trip to Dubai, so kind of looking forward to that. I think that'll be really interesting. We have, apart from that, we've got a couple of big events coming down the pipeline next week. We've got the Digital Asset Weeks. We've got Token 2049. The week after that, we have the Asian Securities ASIFMA Association. All of these that we're pretty active and participating in, either speaking or putting demos on about the platform. Token 2049 is a bit different. That's around the event. I think there's like 100 different side events related to. But we're already signed up to a couple of them. I think we're going to a couple of the custody parties, Super Oracles, BitGo. What else was on there? Credo, KuCoin, fifth anniversary of KuCoin, which is our centralized exchange partner. And that's pretty exciting. We get to see a whole bunch of people. This is the first time in 3 years we've had any types of events going on in person, in Singapore at least. So there's a huge build up, and then we're ending up with the Formula One weekend in between all of that. We've got a lot of work that we're going on terms of looking for more quality STO issuers. That's always been very frustrating for us. There's been a plethora of issues related to the STOs in the marketplace up until this year. Just not going to go too far into it, but there's quality of product issues, there's KYC issues, there's programming issues, there's protocol issues. So we're now looking at growing the business with B2B partnerships and looking for pools of companies and platforms that have scalable products with the STOs with their investors. And I think Aaron can update a little bit on some of the progress there in terms of the first platforms that are going to start white labeling IX Swap, so we can start to grow the business in a B2B manner. So that all of that's very, very exciting. I think there were some questions around fundraising. IX Swap is actually starting to raise some capital. We've got a lead investor, which is very exciting. We won't be announcing that till everything's complete, but that should be very, very soon. And we're looking to get some more capital so we can grow the team and start developing more of the roadmap that we have out faster. Obviously, the last couple of months have been a bear market for the industry and everything's been pretty tough. Token prices being down. Everyone in the industry is feeling a bit negative, but we continue to build on. We've seen a lot of positive momentum in the digital securities and security token space. And we see a lot. We've been presenting IX Swap to a whole bunch of institutional groups in terms of all different types of institutions. A lot of people are starting to really understand what the product is. It's still, you have to remember, it's still a world first product that people have never seen before. So it does take a bit of time for people to get their heads around that. And it is the first time we've had market making for this new asset class, security tokens, and the ability for anyone to start those liquidity pools is also a huge value proposition, but it's also very it takes a little bit of explanation for people to understand that. But so we're getting a lot of traction that might not be visible on a day-to-day basis, certainly not visible in the token price action of the recent couple of months, but we're excited to continue forward, and we've got a great team here working really hard to make it work, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback, and we should have some new partnerships signed up as well. So I'll keep it there so there's enough time for the AMA. Maybe Derek and Aaron, you guys want to chime in and provide any updates that you think might be useful for the community as well.
Yeah, maybe I'll just update on the whitelisting partners at the moment. We are actually working on 3 different whitelisting partners. One of them looks like it's very, very close to closing that out. That first whitelisting partner has a whole bunch of STOs already on their platform. So the moment they white label the platform, they'll be able to list all these STO tokens that are on their personal platform right now. So we're working on that. The other two partners are a little bit further away, but also very important integrations that we're looking at as well. One is a licensed entity out of Europe, and the other one is a licensed entity out of the US. These will be very key jurisdictions and licenses that we want to connect with to get access to these markets at the end of the day. But that's just a few updates, I guess, on the white labeling side of things.
Great. Maybe Derek, over to you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Aaron, I think took the words out of my mouth. But basically, yes, there's been good progress on the white labeling front. Lots busy week. We had a busy week once more. Lots of things in the pipeline, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to share some good news once some of these things finalize.
Yeah, great. And Derek is in the trenches with us every day, trying to find the most streamlined path through, regulatory concerns, making sure that everything's built compliantly, legally, and things work. So yeah, there's a lot of progress going on there. There's a huge amount of legal work going on a daily basis. So I think we're happy to it's AMA today. So instead of us talking the whole time, I think we're opening it up the floor for any questions from anyone in the audience. If you guys want to start firing away, you can let us know if there's any particular questions. I'm just going to look back here. Don't think we've got any major questions right now. I was just thinking then, what
we should talk through the updates of the market. Maybe talk about the updates in the market recently of what's been going on with the regulators and how they're viewing security tokens, fractionalized NFTs, and how the landscape is starting to change.
Yeah, so there's a few interesting topics there. On the regulatory front, you have the SEC in the US, who has come out recently saying that all tokens besides Bitcoin and Ethereum are security tokens. That's a position they're taking. That's quite, it's quite strong. It seems to be quite bullish for IXSwap. I'm not sure what it means for the rest of the industry, especially that's the US. The US government is basically saying that the majority of mining power for, I think actually they were even talking about Ethereum, was in the US. So therefore, the jurisdiction of Ethereum is the United States of America, which is obviously a big statement, something that is sent some shockwaves through the marketplace. That being said, I think that a lot of the other thing that I've been saying for a long time is that most DeFi platforms, pure crypto, which are offering staking, lending, and borrowing for crypto assets, which essentially earns people interest, which essentially is a securities type feature, all require some kinds of licensing. So that's some, again, pretty powerful statements, which I think is certainly one of the reasons why crypto is following crypto's following the macro trends of the markets anyway, price wise. But I think that's certainly helping drive some more. It's not even FUD. I think it's more uncertainty is probably the best way to think about it. There has been. There's obviously a lot of other jurisdictions around the world. So America is obviously a very important market for the world, but it's not the only market. And, we'll see what that means over time, whether everyone in America who's doing DeFi services has to work through a broker-dealer, and everyone outside of America, depending where they're living, might have their own rules and their own jurisdictions, depending on what the governments are saying. I think here in Singapore, we haven't heard any of those similar statements in particular, at least today. And I think that it's very difficult for most of the regulators to try to police these global assets that are floating all around the world. So some more of the regulators, some of the other regulators are classifying these assets as commodities, but not necessarily securities. Either way, for us, I think it's fairly bullish for us because and the security token side of things is something that we think is going to be really a huge part of the marketplace. That there's securities, there's rules, regulation, we know what they are. They're a bit painful, but we can't do anything about that except deal with it, which we are. But that is fine. Then for us, our major concern is to look at what is the rules around cryptos and stable coins as well, and monitor that closely in sort of the different jurisdictions. I think over time, stable coins. I think stable coins are obviously a hugely important part of the marketplace. The 3 of the top 6 market cap coins actually, and Bitcoin's still priced in USD predominantly. So I think the stable coin evolution is something to watch as well. I think a lot of the pairs of the pools in IXSwap will be STO against the stable coin, or at least a large percentage will be, because it makes a lot of sense to put a real estate token against a USDC, as well as there'll be the other assets that are paired against IXS or other cryptocurrencies as well. There's no rule; people can start pools and choose whatever they want. But I think that it's more interesting to see sort of how this kind of unfolds. The other thing, and I don't know if Derek and Aaron, you had any thoughts around that sort of key topics as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking at that, right, the past couple of weeks about NFTs, fractionalization, how we can basically solve that uncertainty for a lot of these minters or traders of NFTs, and how we can bring solutions for that on our platform. And I think you're absolutely right to say that the advantage that we can bring to this space is certainty, right? You've got a whole lot of issues out there, whether regulators are coming after these NFTs as being securities, but on our platform, we are fully regulatory compliant. So, people that come to us can rest easy. We don't have to worry so much about that, because we are sorting things out from a regulatory compliant manner. And that is the value add we bring to this space.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's an important point about the NFTs as well. I think there was an article that came out today, and it said that the NFT marketplace, I think, will live with 2 major buckets of sort of cultural content NFTs that clearly are not securities, and then other ones that are, because they've got the features and the functions, and that's exactly what has been issued. It does look like fractionalized NFTs are going to look more and feel like classified as securities, because the regulator's looking at these, excuse me, like a collective investment scheme. Someone is managing the asset, and there's all these individual investors lying underneath it. So why are you buying that? Excuse me. Why are you buying that? It would be in hope or in belief that there was some financial gain coming down the pipeline, and then that starts to fall right into the securities buckets again, for better or for worse. But Aaron, do you have any comments on that?
No, I mean, look, it's really what we were predicting, right? Right at the start, when we planned to go down this route with the fractionalized NFTs, we always thought that these fractionalized NFTs were going to be securities, and true enough, the leak of the draft legislation today had some sort of indication that fractionalized NFTs might get classified into securities as well. Also, that's a good thing for us, I guess, in the long run. And the rest of the guys in the market are going to have to play catch up.
You're on mute, Jules.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, you're right, Aaron. And let's segue that into another interesting topic, which is in the block, the crypto, the article today in the block, where it said that a lot of Web3 startups now are issuing equity and token warrants, which essentially is doing a normal type of startup fundraising, but then giving the investors access to their token sale later, which would be a utility token or an ICO or a crypto. I think that's really exciting for us, because I can start to see that there'll be a world that you start to see a lot more of the Web3 companies issuing security tokens for the equity in the companies. That comes with the benefits of being, first access, private sale, seed round, whatever it is for the crypto that's coming down the pipeline. Then you have the STO on the left, and you kind of have the ICO on the right, a utility token and security tokens. And then I thought the really exciting part of that article was, first of all, that's exactly what we've been working on, and we're looking to do some partnerships with some really big venture capital firms and accelerators soon, so we can get really scalable numbers of STOs for really amazing startups that all of our community can actually invest into and buy and trade and create pools, which I think is going to be amazing. But point apart from that, which is huge, for me, it's really valuable. It's saying it's being also positioned that it might be a defensive play for any regulators. So if you're the startup, you're concerned that you're going to issue your own token, and you're concerned that the ICO crypto, and you're concerned a regulator is going to knock on your door one day and say you sold a security token illegally. They'll say, no, we didn't. We sold the security token illegally over there on IXSwap. That's our security token, and that's actually for equity in our company, whatever the debt, equity, whatever the security offering is. And this is our ICO here. So we have a security token, and we have a security. It's over there, and our crypto is over here. And you can see the value. You can see the DNA of these two offerings very, very different. So therefore, this is not a security token, and that one is. So I thought that was really cool, because to me, that's like, it's like, and I've been saying this for a very long time. People used to laugh at me. I think the STOs were going to help, or they're going to. I don't necessarily think they'd save the ICOs, but I think they were going to help the STO, the crypto industry in some capacities. And now it's becoming actually, that's starting to look real as a real solution. But what do you guys think about that? Aaron, Derek, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's all part of the cycle, right? You had the whole utility tokens, you have the NFTs that come out, and that's really completely unregulated, right? At some point, it was going to be regulated by some body across the world, and it's just flowing back into what it should be, right? So that's why they're looking at utility tokens now even being classified as security tokens. I think it's just a cycle of new technology in the industry, and eventually being regulated.
Yeah, Derek, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I think I agree with what Aaron is saying, basically. More.
Yeah, no, so that to me is really interesting, because I think that's where we're going to see the ability for us to get some really exciting products, STOs on the platform. And yeah, and if it ties up with the extra value proposition of being able to get into the token component, if you will, that's really cool. I think that's really quite exciting. All right.
Maybe we should touch on I guess what we've been doing on the primary issuance side, and what kind of products that we had been looking at or trying to strategize right now to bring onto the platform once that's up and ready.
Yeah, go for it. Fire away and share some info with the community.
Yeah, so I mean, given that our primary issuance is next up in the pipeline for development, we've been trying to strategize the kind of assets that we want listed on the platform. So right now we've been in conversations with a lot of VCs and incubators to look at the kind of projects that they go into, right? So we want to be able to co-invest them into these pre-seed or seed round startups where most investors retail investors would never get access to in the first place, right? This is talking about seed equity rounds where most people would be able to make that massive gain out of. Right? So these are the kind of products that we're looking at right now. We're speaking to a couple of accelerators and VCs, and hopefully we'll be able to close a couple of these deals before we even push out the primary listing. So we have a pipeline of these coming out.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think one of the benefits as well, if we start looking at more of these startup tokens, is we get the ability to structure these up early on, because it's a brand new company, and I think that's something that I might have overlooked personally before, in terms of the size and the potential size of these assets beginning to be small. You know, talking about a couple $100,000 fundraise, but then if the company is successful, you might have obviously Series A, Series B, Series C's, and the fundraising can be in the millions, if not tens of millions. But I think the important part is that there's an ability there for us to step in early and look at the structure that allows for, call it a smooth and tradable and transferable security token, which is, our team knows we've run into many problems with looking at hundreds of these STOs, or it just doesn't work for whatever different reason. So I think this is a big area of focus for us. We'll continue pushing on this till you see, many more startup STOs on the platforms. But I think, we really want to target the Web3 startups as well, which is something that is much closer to our own heart and so much closer to the DNA of our platform and the communities, and having startups that are within our scope of the industry, I think is also very exciting. And then something that I think that will help us get some more scale, because it's been really hard to get the scale up on the products because the STOs have been all over the place. So we're looking to really dramatically change that. So I think we've got a fairly quiet question audience today. Oh, here we got one from Chem Waste, who looks like a skier. We are starting to let me answer this question here. So how's the funding looking, and when will revenue be expected? So we've got confirmation from our lead investor this week that target by next week we'll have signed up the first agreements, if you will, received the first funding. We have quite a lot of, I've mentioned this earlier in the podcast, we've got a lot of events coming along the pipeline. I can show you guys something. So that's my calendar for Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday next week. So it looks pretty busy. Lots of things going on there. So it's going well. It's been very, very hard. It's been one of the worst fundraising environments in the last 2 decades, maybe longer. Since April, we started looking to raise capital again in March, I would say. And since April, May, it's been horrible environment. So most investors have decided to sit on the sidelines. Everyone's trying to wait it out, see where the world's going. The world macro environment is arguably getting worse, and especially with new industries and new investment offerings, it's even harder than before. So it's any project that was out there trying to fundraise in the last couple of months has been very, very, very difficult. We've been working really, really hard at it and doing call after call with different investor groups, and found some great investors. We're not going to announce any names just right now, but we've still got a lot of people to follow up with. It was also very, because this is a world first product, no one had ever seen it before. So a lot of investors were keen to follow a lead investor, but they didn't know how to do due diligence on the platform because they'd never seen it before. So that was a really interesting challenge, that even people that wanted to invest in the company just didn't know how to do due diligence, weren't comfortable with themselves. We have all the materials, we have all of the data room and the deal room that everybody needs, but they just didn't have the technical or the experience in the space yet. So we've got to go back to all of those. They said, come back, speak to us when you've secured your lead investor, and we'd like to then take a look. So that's what we're doing. There's a lot of groups in Singapore. There's also a global audience that we're targeting now, and IXSwap will be putting its demos on for the digital asset weeks next week in Singapore. It'll do the same thing in November in London. It will do the same thing in Dubai in October, and that's kind of what's on the cards. And I think on the revenue side, I think starting next month, we're starting to look at, as Aaron mentioned before, we're looking at signing up our next white label partners for IXSwap, who would be paying customers, and then we're building that up from there. So we're looking at that as soon as next month. So yeah, lots of positive stuff. We've come through right down to scrape the bottom of, I think, this bear market, and hopefully we're going to probably be here for a little bit longer, but the team's been hard at work. We did a lot of cost cuttings to make sure that we would keep the platform running. We could still build things. It wasn't pretty. It was quite ugly having to do all of those things, but that's what has to happen in startups, especially when the markets crash. But lots of positive stuff going on in the pipeline. Anything you want to add there, Aaron?
No, I think you've covered it on the funding, on the revenue. I guess another the other big revenue stream that will be coming down the line is actually the primary issuance. The cost model for fundraising for any sort of primary issuance is generally between 5 to 10% for any startup, right? So that will be slapped onto all the issuers that come to the platform, and raise money through a platform as well. So we should ideally see decent revenue generation towards the end of the year, and really kickstart the revenue generation to start next year.
Okay. I think there's another question. So when Start Ad describes IXS, it says IXSwap in the Bahamas. Is there any reason? Yes. So if you look around the world and at the jurisdictions, regulators in all the different countries, which is what we did this time last year, 12 months ago, and that wasn't 1 month job. So we looked at approximately 30 different jurisdictions for crypto and securities and security token rules. And what we did, we decided that the Bahamas had the best regulations. They set up something called the DARE Act, it's the Digital Asset Regulated Exchange Act 2020, and it was a new regulation that was positive regulation, positively regulating, I would say, the digital assets industry, and wanting to give the right kind of licenses to the right types of companies that encompassed crypto, security tokens, as well as kind of retail investors and all these kinds of things. So we chose the Bahamas as a place where we wanted IXSwap to get its own licenses so it could be a lot more scalable. And we believe, and we still believe today, that that's one of the best jurisdictions to get its own licenses, while IXSwap still remains agnostic to STO platforms and protocols, and it wants to work with all the STO platforms in Hong Kong and Germany and Liechtenstein and wherever it is, London. But we think it's important to future-proof the business by getting its own licenses, and then we believe that the Bahamas is the place to be. So we actually applied for that in October last year, and we were told it was going to be 30 days, and then FTX turned up and planted the flag and said, this is our global headquarters, and everyone in the world of crypto turned up and said, this is great, why are you here? And they said, we're here because it's the best regulation in the world. And then everything got dramatically slowed down, which is really frustrating. But I was in the Bahamas at the FTX Bahamas event in May, and I met the Prime Minister and I met the head of the Securities Bureau, and we built a relationship with those people, and they're good people and they really love IXSwap, and I think that they'll help us get across the line. We're not there yet, but we're excited to secure that. What was that?
Very soon.
Yeah, exactly. So, but in all good regulation matters, you're not allowed to say anything until you get it. So we're just putting out the soon category, but we are on this every day. Derek's on this every day, and we'll be excited to announce that when we get there. But all good things take time. So that was that. What else have we got here? What's the latest on the white labels? Yeah, so the white label partners would be paying fees for integration and monthly subscriptions. And we're looking for more and more B2B partners who would be selling IXSwap essentially to their networks. And and I would say, we've also presented IXSwap recently to some banks and some of the biggest custodians and asset managers, I would say, in the world, in the world who manage insane amounts of money. And I think there would be a future path for us to actually, potentially do some tech partnerships with these groups. But our major goal is to really try to make sure that anyone who's using IXSwap now and in the future is creating public pools that everyone can access, where I'm not going to use the words centralized, but where all the pools are accessible to as many people as possible. And that's the model that we started, and that's the model we believe in, and we'll continue to push out. And as a good startup, we're looking to try to generate, revenues in the best, fastest possible way that's aligned with our business. We're not being too far off the original plans, and that's some of the ideas and some of the discussions that we're having right now, so we can continue to grow the business. Have we covered most of those questions? I don't think. Description of tech. Yeah, and that's what Aaron's talking about now, with the potential for their own branded swap platforms as well. So here we've got a new question about current fractionalized NFTs, which I'm very excited by. With the board ape coming to 2-3, will more forums have generated fraction? Yes, 100%. So there was a lot of thought put into this early in the year, and we actually designed up and we started building out a fractionalized NFT section for the platform. I'm a big believer in NFTs personally. I think that the concept of being able to fractionalize an NFT, regardless of the value of it right now, but if you think about a high value asset like the BOIC, and being able to buy that and create pools for that and trade in and out of that is really, really cool and really interesting. Not everyone wants to spend 80 Ethereum on a Bored Ape Yacht Club. So yes, there'll be a lot more coming down the pipeline. The challenge with the NFTs right now to be open is that some of them, some of the NFT players are issuing securities features, but they don't want to do it in a legal and compliant way. So they're not calling them securities features, but clearly they are. So because of that, and other platforms are not, they're clearly issuing just NFTs, their art, their culture, their content. There's nothing to do with securities yet. But because of the nature of the uncertainty at the moment around the whole digital asset space in general, but the NFT asset as an asset class, what are they? How do you classify them? Who's allowed to buy them? How do you classify tax? Like, are they securities? Are they commodities? This is a brand new asset the world's not really seen before in this format. So because of that nature, the NFT players are still either trying to stay completely NFT'd, or they're behind closed doors getting broker deal licenses and working out all the necessary things that you need to issue security tokens, because half the NFTs are security tokens. So I think what will play out early next year, or let's say the first two, by mid next year, 6 to 9 months away, you'll start to see more of a separation in the NFT market. And that's when I think we'll see more the ability for us to partner with more platforms that are actually not trying to pretend they're not issuing security tokens. And ideally, the wish list would be, Animoca, OpenSea, we become their partners to handle the NFTs. They're going to handle the securities features, and that's the path that we're on. But at the moment, and especially in this market, the NFTs have suffered hugely, even more so than the crypto, because they're new and they're for all the reasons that most of the community knows. No one's that excited today about talking about and necessarily NFTs and a lot of those platforms. You look at the trading volume on OpenSea, it's gone to 0 to hero. I can't remember the numbers. It's like doing one day the volume in a month. It's like 1/30th less than it was doing back in February or whenever it was. So that'll be interesting to see. I think some of them will they're starting to wake up to that fact, and it'll be a lot more interesting as well, because you are starting to see Starbucks and frequent flyers getting NFT, Ticketmaster tickets to events becoming NFTs. Like, everything's becoming an NFT, which is great. But then you'll start to see the ones that start attaching them to securities features. And even if you have an NFT that's content, culture, and if you hold that NFT, again, it's purely art, you can see that it's an art NFT. But for argument's sake, as an example, if Aaron's holding, a Julian NFT, and I say anyone who holds a Julian NFT gets $10 for me every week, I've basically I've turned that NFT into a security, because it has securities features, and that's where a lot of these projects are going to get caught up. Anyway, that's where we want to step in and try to help the industry grow, where we can actually deal with NFTs, we can deal with the security token NFTs, and we can deal with crypto, and then we'll open up access to everyone under the retail license, which is, again, goes all the way back to the hard work the team's been doing, which doesn't talk about, because you're not meant to talk about it, and around all of the licensing in the Bahamas and whatnot. So that's a bit more color on that. 2023 will be a grinding year. Yeah, I guess that's a statement versus question. Yeah, let's hope. I think it will be. I agree with you. It's been a grinding year this year. This has been extremely painful. I'm a little bit older than probably some of you, so I've been through a few cycles, so I'm kind of used to it. And if you run startups, especially in new industries, this is how it operates daily. But yeah, the world outside is pretty grim right now. It's pretty dark. But I think that, if you go deeper into our industry, you'll see a lot of work being done, a lot of investment not undercover, just not being announced yet, and then it starts to come out. There's investment banks, there's listed groups, there's a whole bunch of people starting to issue their first security tokens, and there's a lot of work to do still, but I think it's looking exciting. Aaron, do you have any comments on the whole? Do you know what the trading volume is on OpenSea today, and how wildly down it is from its peaks.
10 billion in January. I'm not sure it is today. Let's see.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think one day is like 1 month. I think last month was 500 million or something. So it was down like 120 times below its peaks or something like that.
Yeah, it's gone down heaps since last year. It's you see a lot more quality projects now versus literally everything being issued last year and being taken up.
Yeah, right.
So the crap NFT projects aren't getting any sort of funding at all now. Right? People are being more selective, and I think people are just getting smarter about their investment choices as well.
Well, that wouldn't be hard, but that's good to hear. Okay, cool. If there's no more questions, then we might be, yeah, so Kem Wasted telling us OpenSea's doing 10 million a day. So that's 300 million a month. And you said they did 10 billion in January, right? So that's, yeah, as I said, 1/30th. 30 times 3 would be 990 million. Yeah, just shy. 10 million off. So it's doing about 3% of what it was doing back in February, which is pretty crazy. I mean, that's how bad it is out there. That pretty much sums up the NFT market, 3% of what it was in February. A lot of the prices are 3% of the value. Okay, one more question. With a new UI for the app. Sorry, what's the actual question? Is there a new UI for the app? Oh, what are the biggest changes with the current site? Aaron, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, we're still currently redesigning the website. We're trying to make it a lot easier to understand. We've gotten a lot of feedback from a whole bunch of people, and we know that it might be a little bit difficult to understand if you're not in blockchain or finance and things like that. So we really want to try to make it as easy and simple as possible for new users that come to the platform to understand. And talk a lot less about AMMs, DEXs, and all that, and really focus more on IXSwap being a trading platform that offers private assets instead. So yeah, I mean, I think Shar is currently doing the designs. He's trying to rush it out along with a whole bunch of other things. But that's really the focus of what we want to change the website and what we want it to show people and tell people, I guess, the story that we want to tell people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's a whole around that topic, this terminology, wording, positioning, big challenge, especially when you do the first one. Now, a lot of people who use Uniswap have no idea it's an AMM. They just think it's where you buy crypto, and it's cool and it's easy to use because there's not much stuff on the screen because there's no order books and matching engines. But I use that as an example that, you know, I would say by number of users, the majority of people that use Uniswap don't understand AMM or aren't actually in the pools, even though there's millions of people in the pools. But back to our challenge, it's trying to, we purposely use the elevator pitch that we were the Uniswap for security tokens, because that's what we are, that's what we are doing, and it immediately at least allows people that know Uniswap to kind of understand what's going on. But as we grow out, run around, try to knock on all the doors that we can and build the business out, we realize, especially in the security token space, that most of those people don't know what an AMM is anyway. So as Aaron said, we're trying to get back to I think we've been promoting how it works, and we want to start promoting more of why you would use it. So how it works is the AMM, and this is the smart contracts, and this is how you create pools. That's great. But why would you want to use it is more important. And now we're getting back to the elements of creating liquidity for your asset, or trading your asset, or trying to make money, creating arbitrage, all of those things. So we're going to, try to simplify the language in the next build out, which is happening right now. And Shara's hard at work on that. I know a lot of the community know him and love him. Like, he was one of their their own. And yeah, we'll be getting that out as soon as we can. Again, we're working through this bear market like all the other platforms, so we're not going to just go and hire 10s and 20,000 engineers to get this done. We've got to really monitor our cash and make sure that we're good as we roll into the next up market, whenever that is, which looks likely to be sometime late next year at earliest. Okay, well, look, I think we can wrap it up. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Isabel for setting it up. I believe Aaron, Derek, and the rest of the community. We appreciate all your help. We'll stay tuned for some more exciting updates. We're here for the long run. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and we will keep you guys updated. And thanks for being part of the community and the project. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.